What makes a love story truly timeless? Is it the passionate kiss in the rain, the tearful airport goodbye, or that perfect line that still gives us goosebumps decades later? Welcome to Golden Age Classics, and today we're counting down our picks for the 25 greatest romantic movies ever made during Hollywood's Golden Age. From sweeping epics to intimate love stories, these films captured our hearts and defined an era of filmmaking that still influences cinema today. So, sit back, grab some popcorn, and prepare for a journey through the most unforgettable love stories ever committed to celluloid. Casablanca, 1942. No list of romantic classics would be complete without the timeless masterpiece that is Casablanca. Humphrey Bogart stars as Rick Blaine, a cynical nightclub owner in war-torn Morocco whose life is turned upside down when his former lover Ilsa, played by the luminous Ingrid Bergman, walks into his establishment. Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine. Their chemistry is nothing short of electric, creating one of cinema's most captivating couples. Director Michael Curtiz masterfully balances the personal drama against the backdrop of World War II, crafting a film that's both intimate and epic in scope. From the iconic As Time Goes By piano scene to the tear-jerking airport finale, every moment feels perfectly calibrated to tug at our heartstrings. The film won 3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and has become synonymous with romantic sacrifice. What makes Casablanca truly special is how it subverts the typical happy ending, demonstrating that sometimes the most romantic gesture is letting go of the one you love. Gone with the Wind, 1939. Epic in every sense of the word, Gone with the Wind stands as one of cinema's most ambitious romantic sagas. This Technicolor marvel stars the incomparable Vivien Leigh as the headstrong Southern belle Scarlett O'Hara, who finds herself caught between her infatuation with Ashley Wilkes and her tumultuous relationship with the dashing Rhett Butler, played by the charismatic Clark Gable. Producer David O. Selznick spared no expense in bringing Margaret Mitchell's best-selling novel to life, with the production stretching over 2 years and costing an unprecedented $3.9 million, a staggering sum for 1939. Director Victor Fleming captures both the burning of Atlanta and the burning passions of its characters with equal grandeur. The film's exploration of love during the Civil War and Reconstruction eras remains unmatched in its scope and emotional impact. Despite its problematic portrayal of slavery, the central romance between Scarlett and Rhett, 2 equally stubborn, flawed individuals, continues to fascinate audiences. Their relationship culminates in arguably the most famous parting line in film history. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Roman Holiday, 1953. Capturing the essence of 1950s European charm, Roman Holiday introduced the world to Audrey Hepburn in her breakthrough role as Princess Anne, a royal who escapes her suffocating schedule to experience Rome as an ordinary person. Gregory Peck plays Joe Bradley, an American reporter who initially sees the princess as his ticket to a career-making story, but gradually falls in love with her free spirit and genuine heart. Director William Wyler filmed on location in Rome, using the Eternal City not merely as a backdrop, but as an essential character in this enchanting love story. The film's black and white cinematography lends a timeless quality to their adventure as they explore the Colosseum, the Spanish Steps, and zoom through the city streets on a Vespa. What makes Roman Holiday particularly poignant is its bittersweet conclusion, the acknowledgement that sometimes love isn't enough to overcome life's obligations. Hepburn's performance earned her an Academy Award, cementing her status as Hollywood royalty. The film's costume design by Edith Head also won an Oscar, with Hepburn's simple yet elegant outfits becoming a fashion sensation and influencing women's style throughout the decade. It Happened One Night, 1934. Frank Capra's screwball comedy. It Happened One Night made history as the first film to sweep all 5 major Academy Awards. The story follows Ellie Andrews, a spoiled heiress who runs away from her controlling father, and Peter Warren, a roguish newspaper reporter who accompanies her on a cross-country bus trip, each with their own agenda. What begins as a contentious relationship gradually blossoms into genuine affection as they face one misadventure after another. The famous Walls of Jericho scene, where they share a motel room separated by a hanging blanket, exemplifies the film's playful approach to romance and the production code's strict moral guidelines. Legend has it that when Gable removed his shirt to reveal no undershirt, it caused a nationwide drop in undershirt sales. Colbert initially rejected the role and only accepted after her salary was doubled to $50,000. The film's success established the template for romantic comedies for decades to come, proving that the tension between two seemingly incompatible people could create irresistible screen magic. The Philadelphia Story, 1940. Sparkling with sophisticated wit and charm, The Philadelphia Story reunited Katharine Hepburn with director George Cukor in what would become one of her signature roles. Hepburn plays Tracy Lord, a wealthy socialite preparing for her second marriage when her plans are complicated by the simultaneous arrival of her ex-husband, C.K. Dexter Haven, and tabloid reporter Macaulay Connor. The film's exploration of class, redemption, and true love unfolds in the rarefied air of Philadelphia high society, with each character revealing hidden depths beneath their polished exteriors. MGM bought the rights to the Broadway play specifically for Hepburn after she had been labeled box office poison, effectively revitalizing her career. Stewart won his only competitive Oscar for his performance, though he later admitted he thought Cary Grant deserved it more. The film's enduring appeal lies in its perfect balance of comedy and genuine emotion, particularly in Tracy's journey to self-awareness. The legendary costume designer Adrian created Hepburn's stunning wardrobe, further cementing the film's reputation for glamour and elegance. The Philadelphia Story remains a masterclass in romantic comedy, demonstrating how love can help us see past our own flaws. An Affair to Remember, 1957. Few films have captured the essence of fated love quite like An Affair to Remember. Directed by Leo McCarey, this romantic drama stars Cary Grant as Nicky Ferrante, a notorious playboy, and Deborah Kerr as Terry McKay, a former nightclub singer. After meeting aboard a transatlantic cruise, the two fall deeply in love despite both being engaged to other people. They make a pact to meet 6 months later at the top of the Empire State Building if they have managed to end their previous relationships and establish independent careers. The film's devastating twist, Terry is struck by a car on her way to their rendezvous and becomes paralyzed, leads to one of cinema's most heartbreaking misunderstandings. McCarey was actually remaking his own 1939 film, Love Affair, with Charles Boyer and Irene Dunne. The movie was shot in a gorgeous cinemascope with lush color, enhancing the romantic atmosphere. The final scene, where Nicky finally discovers the truth about why Terry missed their appointment, remains one of the most emotionally powerful moments in film history. An Affair to Remember has been referenced in countless other romantic films, most notably in 1993's Sleepless in Seattle, cementing its legacy as the quintessential tale of love, sacrifice, and destiny. Notorious, 1946. Alfred Hitchcock elevated the romantic thriller to new heights with Notorious, a tale of espionage, betrayal, and impossible love. Ingrid Bergman stars as Alicia Huberman, the daughter of a convicted Nazi spy who is recruited by government agent T.R. Devlin to infiltrate a group of Nazi collaborators in post-war Brazil. Complicating the mission is their intense mutual attraction, which becomes strained when Alicia is asked to seduce and marry Alexander Sebastian, an old family friend involved with the Nazi group. Hitchcock's masterful direction is evident in every frame, particularly in what was then the longest kiss in American cinema, a passionate 3-minute sequence of embraces and whispered conversation that cleverly circumvented the production code's limit on kissing length. The film's suspense builds methodically as Sebastian discovers Alicia's true purpose, leading to a chilling, poisoning plot. Cinematographer Ted Tetzlaff created some of the most innovative camera work of the era, including a famous crane shot that starts with a crowded ballroom and ends focused on a key hidden in Alicia's hand. Notorious represents the perfect blend of Hitchcock's suspense mastery and genuine romantic depth, with Grant and Bergman's conflicted love story providing the emotional core amid the espionage intrigue. The Apartment, 1960. Billy Wilder's The Apartment brilliantly blends comedy, drama, and romance in a story that feels surprisingly modern even decades later. Jack Lemmon stars as C.C. Baxter, a low-level insurance company employee who loans his apartment to company executives for their extramarital affairs in hopes of climbing the corporate ladder. His life becomes complicated when he falls for elevator operator Fran Kubelik, who happens to be having an affair with Baxter's married boss, Jeff Sheldrake. The film's depiction of office politics, loneliness in the big city, and the moral compromises people make for success was groundbreaking for its time. Shot in widescreen black and white by cinematographer Joseph Lachelle, the film uses Baxter's sparse apartment as a metaphor for his empty life. Wilder co-wrote the razor-sharp screenplay with I.A.L. Diamond, crafting dialogue that balances cynicism with genuine heart. The film won 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Director, and Screenplay. What makes The Apartment particularly special is how it subverts romantic comedy conventions, finding genuine warmth and humanity in a seemingly cold world. The famous final line, "Shut up and deal," perfectly encapsulates the film's unsentimental yet deeply romantic spirit. Breakfast at Tiffany's, 1961. Visually stunning and culturally iconic, Breakfast at Tiffany's transformed Audrey Hepburn into a fashion and film legend as the enigmatic Holly Golightly, a New York socialite with a mysterious past who spends her mornings gazing into the windows of Tiffany's jewelry store. When struggling writer Paul Varjak moves into her apartment building, their connection develops amid a world of Manhattan parties, wealthy suitors, and shared secrets. Director Blake Edwards adapts Truman Capote's novella with a lighter touch than the original material, creating a more romantic atmosphere while still maintaining the story's exploration of identity and reinvention. Henry Mancini's timeless score includes Moon River, which won an Academy Award and became one of the most recognizable songs in film history. Costume designer Hubert de Givenchy created Hepburn's iconic little black dress, which sold at auction in 2006 for $900,000. Despite the film's problematic portrayal of Mr. Yunioshi by Mickey Rooney, Breakfast at Tiffany's remains beloved for its exploration of a woman determined to forge her own path while afraid to truly belong to anyone or anything. The rain-soaked finale, with Holly searching for her nameless cat, represents one of cinema's most emotionally satisfying conclusions. Now, Voyager, 1942. Now, Voyager features one of Bette Davis's most transformative performances as Charlotte Vale, a repressed spinster who blossoms into a confident, independent woman after psychiatric treatment frees her from her domineering mother's control. During a therapeutic cruise, Charlotte meets and falls in love with Jerry Durrance, a married man who cannot leave his wife. Director Irving Rapper crafts a melodrama that transcends its genre through psychological depth and nuanced performances. The film's famous cigarette lighting scene, where Henry lights 2 cigarettes simultaneously and hands one to Davis, became an enduring symbol of romantic intimacy. Max Steiner's lush, emotional score won an Academy Award and enhances the film's exploration of personal growth and complicated love. Davis's physical transformation in the film, from dowdy wallflower to elegant woman of the world, was groundbreaking in showing how outer appearance reflects inner emotional development. The film's ahead-of-its-time message about finding fulfillment outside of conventional marriage makes it particularly resonant. The immortal final line, "Don't let's ask for the moon, we have the stars," encapsulates the film's bittersweet wisdom about finding happiness within life's limitations. 2. Have and Have Not, 1944. The electricity between Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall into Have and Have Not transcends the screen, capturing the beginning of one of Hollywood's greatest real-life romances. Loosely based on Ernest Hemingway's novel, the film stars Bogart as Harry Morgan, an American fishing boat captain in Martinique who reluctantly agrees to help the French resistance transport a fugitive during World War II. Bacall, in her film debut at just 19 years old, plays Marie Slim Browning, a sultry pickpocket who delivers one of cinema's most memorable lines. "You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? You just put your lips together and blow." Director Howard Hawks crafted scenes specifically to showcase the palpable chemistry between his leads, who began their affair during filming and married the following year. The screenplay, partly written by William Faulkner, crackles with wit and innuendo. Hoagie Carmichael provides musical interludes that enhance the film's smoky, atmospheric setting. Hawks deliberately echoed elements of Casablanca to capitalize on that film's success, but To Have and Have Not established its own identity through the magnetic Bogart-Bacall pairing. Their scenes together virtually invented a new kind of romantic dialogue, tough, suggestive, and charged with mutual respect. The African Queen, 1951. The unlikely romance between a prim missionary and a rough-edged riverboat captain makes The African Queen one of cinema's most charming adventures. Katharine Hepburn stars as Rose Sayer, a proper British missionary in German East Africa at the outbreak of World War I. When her brother dies after their village is attacked, she joins forces with Charlie Allnut, the disheveled, gin-drinking captain of a dilapidated steamboat called The African Queen. Director John Huston took the extraordinary step of filming on location in Uganda and the Congo, creating authentic backgrounds for this tale of opposites who gradually fall in love while attempting to torpedo a German warship. The grueling shoot became legendary, with the cast and crew battling dysentery, malaria, and dangerous wildlife. Only Bogart and Huston remained healthy, allegedly because they drank whiskey instead of water. The film's journey mirrors the characters' emotional transformation, as Rose and Charlie evolve from irritation to respect to deep affection. Bogart won his only Academy Award for this performance, which showcased a vulnerability rarely seen in his tough guy roles. Cinematographer Jack Cardiff captured the lush African landscapes in stunning Technicolor, providing a vivid backdrop for this unique love story that proves romance can blossom in the most challenging circumstances. Gilda, 1946. Sultry, complex, and visually striking, Gilda features Rita Hayworth in her most iconic role as the ultimate femme fatale. The noir-tinged romance follows Johnny Farrell, a small-time gambler who becomes the right-hand man to Balin Munson, the owner of an illegal casino in Buenos Aires. Complications arise when Munson unexpectedly marries Gilda, who turns out to be Johnny's former lover. Director Charles Vidor crafts a tale of sexual tension and psychological manipulation, with the three main characters locked in a dangerous triangle of desire, jealousy, and revenge. Hayworth's performance of Put the Blame on Mame while performing a one-glove striptease became one of cinema's most seductive moments, cementing her status as a Hollywood goddess. The film's exploration of power dynamics and emotional sadomasochism was daring for its time, only partially disguised by the noir setting. Rudolph Maté's chiaroscuro cinematography emphasizes the moral ambiguity of all three characters. Costume designer Jean-Louis created Hayworth's stunning wardrobe, including the famous black satin strapless gown. What makes Gilda particularly fascinating is how it subverts audience expectations. Beneath the glamorous surface lies a darker examination of toxic relationships and the thin line between love and hate. Ninochka, 1939. Marketed with the tagline, Garbo Laughs, Ninochka represented a significant departure for the normally serious Swedish actress Greta Garbo in her penultimate film. Ernst Lubitsch directs this sophisticated romantic comedy about a stern Soviet envoy, Nina Ivanovna Yakushova, who travels to Paris to supervise the sale of jewelry confiscated during the Russian Revolution. There she meets Count Léon Dalgout, a charming Frenchman who slowly melts her icy communist ideals with romance and luxury. The film's witty screenplay, co-written by Billy Wilder, balances political satire with genuine romance, gently mocking both Soviet severity and Western decadence. One of the most famous scenes shows Ninochka's transformation as she finally laughs at a restaurant after Leon deliberately takes a pratfall. MGM spared no expense on the film's elegant Parisian settings, and Adrian's gorgeous costume designs, which showcase Garbo's evolution from austere commissar to woman in love. Released just as World War II began in Europe, the film's light-hearted treatment of Soviet-Western relations feels remarkably prescient given the Cold War that would follow. Ninochka demonstrates how love can transcend political ideologies with Garbo's performance revealing both comedic talent and emotional depth in her iconic role. Waterloo Bridge, 1940. Heartbreakingly romantic and emotionally devastating, Waterloo Bridge stars Vivien Leigh as Myra Lester, a ballerina who falls in love with British officer Roy Cronin during a chance meeting on London's Waterloo Bridge during World War I. Their whirlwind romance is interrupted when Roy is suddenly called back to the front, leaving Myra in increasingly desperate circumstances after she loses her ballet position. Director Mervyn Leroy crafts a deeply moving tale of love and sacrifice, with Leigh delivering a performance of remarkable sensitivity just after her triumph in Gone with the Wind. The film's most poignant scenes take place on the misty bridge where they first met, which becomes a symbol of both romantic possibility and tragic fate. MGM head Louis B. Mayer reportedly considered this his favorite film from his studio. Joseph Ruttenberg's luminous black and white cinematography emphasizes the contrast between the couple's brief happiness and the darkness that engulfs Myra's life. Herbert Stothardt's evocative musical score incorporates Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake to underscore the ballet sequences and heighten the emotional impact. While less well known today than other Golden Age romances, Waterloo Bridge remains one of Hollywood's most devastating love stories, examining how war destroys not just lives, but also the possibility of happiness for those left behind. Brief Encounter, 1945. David Lean's Brief Encounter stands as one of cinema's most exquisitely restrained love stories. This British classic stars Celia Johnson as Laura Jesson, a conventional middle-class housewife whose ordinary life is transformed when a chance meeting with Dr. Alec Harvey, Trevor Howard, at a railway station refreshment room leads to a passionate but ultimately unconsummated affair. The film's power lies in its intimate scale and emotional honesty, capturing the overwhelming nature of unexpected love against the backdrop of rigid social conventions in post-war Britain. Lean uses Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 1, 2 throughout the film to express the couple's unspoken emotions, creating one of cinema's most effective musical motifs. Shot in atmospheric black and white by cinematographer Robert Krasker, the film uses steam from the trains and reflections in windows to create visual poetry that enhances the story's poignancy. The narrative is presented as Laura's interior monologue to her unknowing husband, giving viewers privileged access to her conflicted thoughts and desires. Though produced in Britain rather than Hollywood, the film exemplifies the best qualities of Golden Age romance: emotional depth, moral complexity, and the bittersweet recognition that the greatest loves are sometimes those we must relinquish. Wuthering Heights, 1939. William Wyler's adaptation of Emily Bronte's Gothic novel brings the tempestuous love affair between Heathcliff and Catherine Earnshaw to vivid life. Laurence Olivier stars as the brooding Heathcliff, a former stable boy who returns to the English moors as a wealthy man to seek revenge on those who separated him from his true love, Catherine. The film focuses primarily on the first half of Bronte's novel, concentrating on the central romance rather than the multi-generational saga of the original text. Greg Toland's atmospheric black and white cinematography captures the wild, windswept Yorkshire moors, actually filmed in California, making the landscape itself a reflection of the characters' passionate emotions. The film's famous ghostly ending, with Catherine and Heathcliff's spirits walking together on Penistone Crag, was added by producer Samuel Goldwyn against Wyler's wishes, but has become one of the movie's most memorable moments. Though Olivier initially objected to working with Oberon, their on-screen chemistry transcends any off-screen tension. Alfred Newman's sweeping musical score enhances the film's romantic intensity. While Wuthering Heights deviates significantly from its source material, it succeeds as a standalone romantic tragedy, capturing the essence of a love so powerful it defies death itself. The Shop Around the Corner, 1940. Ernst Lubitsch's tender romantic comedy, The Shop Around the Corner features James Stewart and Margaret Sullivan as Alfred Kralik and Clara Novak, co-workers at a Budapest leather goods shop who can't stand each other in person but have unwittingly fallen in love as anonymous pen pals. The film's gentle humor and emotional authenticity arise from this central irony as the audience watches the pair bicker by day while pouring their hearts out in letters by night. Lubitsch's famous touch, his ability to convey complex emotions through subtle visual cues and implication, is on full display throughout the film, particularly in the Christmas Eve scene where Alfred finally discovers Clara's identity. Unlike many romantic comedies, the film takes place in a working-class setting, with financial concerns and job security playing important roles in the characters' lives. The supporting cast, including Frank Morgan as the shop owner and Joseph Schildkraut as the conniving Vadas, creates a rich community around the central romance. MGM production designer Cedric Gibbons created a cozy, believable shop setting that enhances the intimate atmosphere. The film has inspired multiple remakes, including 1949's In the Good Old Summertime with Judy Garland and 1998's You've Got Mail with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, but the original remains unmatched for its warmth, humor, and understated emotional impact. A Place in the Sun, 1951. George Stevens directs this haunting adaptation of Theodore Dreiser's novel, An American Tragedy, transforming it into one of Hollywood's most visually stunning and emotionally complex romances. Montgomery Clift stars as George Eastman, an ambitious young man who takes a factory job at his wealthy uncle's company and begins a relationship with fellow worker Alice Tripp. When George meets and falls desperately in love with socialite Angela Vickers, he finds himself torn between two worlds and contemplating a terrible solution to his dilemma. The film's power comes from the genuine chemistry between Clift and Taylor, both at the height of their beauty and talent. Stevens uses extreme close-ups of their faces during their love scenes, creating an almost tactile sense of attraction rarely captured on film. Cinematographer William C. Meller won an Academy Award for his luminous black-and-white photography, which contrasts the industrial grimness of George's life with Alice against the sun-dappled luxury of his time with Angela. Franz Waxman's passionate musical score underscores the film's building sense of doom. Despite the production code's requirements for moral retribution, A Place in the Sun presents George's story with surprising complexity and compassion. The beach party sequence, where Angela whispers, "Tell Mama all" to George, remains one of cinema's most sensual moments without showing anything explicit. Sabrina, 1954. Billy Wilder's enchanting fairy tale Sabrina stars Audrey Hepburn as the chauffeur's daughter, who transforms from awkward girl to sophisticated woman after studying cooking in Paris. Upon her return to the Larrabee estate, she catches the eye of playboy David Larrabee, whom she's adored from afar for years, but finds herself unexpectedly drawn to his workaholic older brother, Linus. The film's Cinderella-like story is elevated by Wilder's characteristic wit and Hepburn's luminous presence. Costume designer Edith Head officially won an Oscar for the film's wardrobe, though many of Hepburn's most famous outfits were actually created by Hubert de Givenchy, beginning a lifelong collaboration between the designer and actress. Behind the scenes, tension existed between Bogart and both his co-stars. He had wanted his wife Lauren Bacall for the title role and disliked Holden's drinking habits. Nevertheless, the on-screen chemistry, particularly between Hepburn and Bogart, transcends any off-camera issues. The film's exploration of class differences feels progressive for its era, suggesting that true worth comes from character rather than social position. Charles Lang's cinematography captures both the luxury of the Larrabee world and the more modest beauty of Sabrina's transformation. The famous line, "Paris is always a good idea," has become a cultural touchstone, representing the film's enduring appeal. Letter from an Unknown Woman, 1948. Max Ophüls directs this exquisitely crafted tale of unrequited love set in turn-of-the-century Vienna. Joan Fontaine stars as Lisa Berndl, a young woman who develops an all-consuming, lifelong passion for concert pianist Stefan Brand after briefly meeting him as a teenager. The film unfolds as a letter Stefan reads from the now-deceased Lisa, revealing how their lives intersected over the years, without him ever recognizing the depth of her devotion. Ophüls' signature flowing camera movements create a dreamlike atmosphere that mirrors Lisa's romantic idealization of Stefan. Franz Planer's cinematography captures the opulent beauty of Vienna while suggesting the emotional distance between the characters. The film's central tragedy lies in its exploration of memory and perception, how two people can experience the same events entirely differently. Daniele Amfiteatrov's musical score incorporates Liszt and Mozart to enhance the period setting and emotional resonance. Howard Koch's screenplay delicately balances romance with melancholy, avoiding sentimentality while maintaining emotional impact. Though not a commercial success upon its release, Letter from an Unknown Woman has been recognized by critics and filmmakers as one of cinema's greatest romantic dramas, with its influence evident in later works like Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love. The film's haunting final line, "By the time you read this letter, I may be dead," encapsulates its exploration of love as both memory and absence. Bringing Up Baby, 1938, Howard Hawks's screwball masterpiece. Bringing Up Baby stars Katharine Hepburn as Susan Vance, a free-spirited heiress who throws the orderly life of paleontologist Dr. David Huxley into chaos as they chase after her pet leopard, Baby. The film's manic energy and rapid-fire dialogue create a romance built on comedic frustration, with Susan's attraction to David manifesting as an almost pathological determination to disrupt his plans to marry his straight-laced fiancée and secure a museum donation. Hawks pushes the screwball formula to new heights, with increasingly absurd situations involving not just the leopard, but also a dinosaur bone, a terrier named George, and cases of mistaken identity. Grant showcases his comedic genius, particularly in scenes where he must impersonate a big-game hunter or explain why he's wearing a woman's negligee. Russell Meddy's cinematography captures both the elegant settings and physical comedy with equal skill.
Though a commercial failure upon its release, partially responsible for Hepburn being labelled box office poison, the film has been reclaimed as a classic, with the American Film Institute naming it the 88th greatest American film of all time. The central romance works because beneath the madcap surface lies genuine chemistry, with David gradually recognizing that Susan's unpredictability is exactly what his rigidly structured life needs. Laura, 1944. Otto Preminger's hypnotic film noir Laura transcends its murder mystery framework to become one of cinema's most unusual love stories. Dana Andrews stars as Detective Mark McPherson, who gradually falls in love with the presumed murder victim, Laura Hunt, through interviews with those who knew her and by spending time in her apartment surrounded by her possessions and portrait. When Laura unexpectedly reappears alive, McPherson must navigate his unexpected feelings while still solving the crime. The film's exploration of obsession and projection makes it a fascinating psychological study of how we construct idealized images of those we desire. Joseph Lachelle won an Academy Award for his atmospheric black and white cinematography, which creates a dreamlike quality that enhances the film's examination of appearance versus reality. David Raksin's haunting theme became a jazz standard and one of film noir's most recognizable musical signatures. Vincent Price gives a memorable performance as Laura's sophisticated but parasitic fiancé, while Clifton Webb steals scenes as the acerbic columnist Waldo Ledecker. Laura's famous twist forces both McPherson and the audience to reconcile the imagined woman with the real one, a clever metaphor for the illusions often involved in romantic attraction. The film remains a perfect blend of noir elements and unconventional romance, with Tierney's luminous beauty and Andrews' stoic vulnerability creating an unforgettable pairing. Camelot and Juliet, 1936. George Cukor's sumptuous adaptation of Shakespeare's timeless tragedy stars Leslie Howard and Norma Shearer as literature's most famous star-crossed lovers. Despite the leads being considerably older than their teenage characters, they bring a mature emotional depth to the doomed Veronese couple caught between their feuding families. MGM spared no expense on the production, with elaborate Renaissance costumes by Adrian and ornate sets designed by Cedric Gibbons, creating a visually lavish backdrop for the familiar story. Producer Irving Thalberg, who was married to Shearer, intended the film as a prestige project, even bringing in scholars to advise on the adaptation of Shakespeare's text. While some of the language is simplified for 1930s audiences, much of the original poetry remains intact. The famous balcony scene is staged with particular grace, capturing both the physical and emotional yearning of new love. John Barrymore delivers a scene-stealing performance as Mercutio, while Basil Rathbone makes a memorably dangerous Tybalt. Though overshadowed today by later adaptations like Zeffirelli's 1968 version or Baz Luhrmann's modernized take, this production represents the golden age approach to literary adaptation: respectful, romantic, and visually opulent. Herbert Stothart's musical score enhances the tragic grandeur of the story, building to the devastating finale in the Capulet tomb, where the ultimate price of hatred is revealed through the young lover's sacrifice.
The Gorgeous Hussy, 1936. This largely forgotten historical romance deserves rediscovery for Joan Crawford's magnetic performance as Peggy O'Neill, a tavern keeper's daughter who rises to become an influential figure in Andrew Jackson's Washington. Based loosely on real events, the film follows Peggy's relationships with multiple suitors, including Naval Officer John Randolph and Secretary of State John Eaton. Clarence Brown directs this MGM prestige picture with an eye for both historical detail and emotional resonance. Lionel Barrymore brings gravitas as President Andrew Jackson, whose friendship with Peggy becomes a source of political controversy. The film takes significant liberties with history. The real Margaret O'Neill was a controversial figure whose reputation suffered from the social politics of the era, but creates an engaging romantic drama set against the backdrop of early American democracy. Crawford, often associated with contemporary melodramas, demonstrates her range in this period piece, bringing dignity and passion to her portrayal of a woman navigating both romantic and political waters. George Folsey's cinematography captures both the rustic charm of early Washington and the emerging formality of American political life. While less well-known than other films on this list, The Gorgeous Hussy exemplifies how Golden Age Hollywood could transform historical footnotes into compelling romantic narratives centered on strong female characters pushing against the limitations of their era. If you've enjoyed our journey through Hollywood's Golden Age romances, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our Golden Age Classics community. Leave a comment letting us know which of these timeless love stories is your favorite, or which classic romances you'd like to see featured in our next video. Ring that notification bell so you never miss our weekly deep dives into cinema history. And remember, these films may be decades old, but true romance never goes out of style. Until next time, this is Golden Age Classics, celebrating the movies that continue to make our hearts skip a beat all these years later.